Hampton Roads has a long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Here is Matt Hatfield.
And welcome you back to 757 Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe, and interact with us wherever you're tuning in on this state championship Saturday. Big weekend for high school football in the state of Virginia, and we are so delighted to be joined by a special guest. He is I call him the Dean of Sports Writing now that we have in Virginia. No longer Marshall Johnson with us. He's been doing it for more than 40 years. Cut his teeth at the Bristol Herald-Courier and then went to the Roanoke Times. He spent 40-plus years at both of those papers, did outstanding work, was honored for his excellence in sports coverage as far as the writing side of things goes for high school sports, and was inducted this past April in the Virginia High School League Hall of Fame. I think he's going to go in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame one day as well. You see him with the better half. We're now joined by our pal, Robert Anderson. Robert, good to have you on the program. Congrats again on the Hall of Fame. That was a special weekend for you in April, wasn't it? That was a good weekend. That picture is actually from the VIA Hall of Fame banquet I was a guest at. Thanks to Jimmy Hollins up there in Charlottesville. They do a great job. And if you'll notice, I got to talk and meet the gentleman pictured over my wife's shoulder, the great Mr. George Lancaster, who unfortunately passed away not too long after that. What a wonderful person he is or was, and just very sad. But yeah, it was a great first-class event at the VHSL and the VIA. Both of those groups put on a tremendous banquet. That's terrific. And George Lancaster was one of the best. Rest in peace to him. He was a good friend of ours and did so much with the youth in Highland Springs, just an icon. And for you, before we dive in on these games, and I know you have a love of high school sports and high school football just like myself, that you've been doing this so long, and your stories, your profiles, you've been an asset to not just the Bristol Herald and then the Roanoke Times, and now writing for the Cardinal News and us at VirginiaPreps.com as a correspondent from time to time in your quasi-retirement, if you will. But what got you into this and your love for high school sports? Tell us where it all started for you and what makes you enjoy it so much. I don't know. I was thinking way back, my dad, we lived in Martinsville, and which is halfway between Roanoke and Greensboro. And, my dad was a sports fan. My grandfather pitched in Major League Baseball. In fact, he was a 19-year-old pitcher for Connie Mack in 1917. They called him up and stuck him out on the mound in Comiskey Park in Chicago, in the fourth batter he faced with some guy named Shoeless Joe Jackson. And my grandfather was 19 years old. So, we've been a sports family forever. My dad subscribed to papers in North Carolina and Virginia and the Martinsville paper. We got 3 newspapers in our house. So I'm growing up reading papers. And I remember sitting on the couch one day thinking, maybe I might be able to do this one day. It looks like fun. And I started my first job. I started at $135 a week, and I was sitting in the stands at a baseball game thinking, wow, I'm getting paid to do this, and pretty cool. So kind of went from there. I think at college I realized is my procrastinating nature, being able to write a term paper on a deadline. I think, maybe I can do this too. So, that's kind of where it started. Really cool, really cool. Now, getting in the Hall of Fame, when you got that call, what did that mean to you? Well, it meant that somebody nominated me, and that's how you get in. And in my speech, they asked me to make a speech, and I did. And they thought I might have a different perspective than some of the coaches or the athletes, because I'd seen a lot of things. And I made the point, you have to be nominated. And the schools, unfortunately, as time goes on and you get administrations change and athletic directors change, and excuse me, a lot of the schools don't know their own history, and or they're too consumed with the day-to-day business of running a school. And there are a lot of people who need to be in the Hall of Fame that just don't get nominated. It's embarrassing that I'm the only Martinsville High School graduate in the VHS Hall of Fame, because look at some of the athletes that they've had there, but they're not nominated. And if Sandy Hadaway, the athletic director at Salem High School, nominated me, and they graciously
voted for me. So you have to be nominated.
Yeah, it's very much the deal there. And to get in the Hall of Fame with some of the people that you've covered, all these different sports figures, it's also got to be the really, I guess, someone that's done it so long, touching thing. You see these people that you've chronicled and documented. My next question for you, diving on these themes here, Robert, is you got a couple of stories over your years, 40 years, that really have had the biggest lasting effect on you or even the people that you covered? Any couple of stories that would be maybe your favorites or stories that you're the most proud of?
It's hard to say that. There's a story that I did. I wasn't here in the 90s when this happened, but there was an event that happened at Victory Stadium, the old football stadium in Roanoke, where a young player from Pulaski County lost his life during the game, a very freak accident. And excuse me, later, the player who blocked him, which was a very clean block, they were playing William Fleming. There was nothing about the play that was, anything other than a normal football play. This young man, years later, was murdered, and that's been an unsolved murder, in fact. And these two guys, they both wore the same jersey number in high school, 77. I just did. It was 10 years later. I was able to talk to a lot of the people that were involved, Joel Hicks and Coach Miller at Fleming, and to get their memories of it. And that story, it's still out there. Marty Smith somehow came across that story the other day and got a hold of me and said he wanted to find out a little bit more about it. And that one is kind of stuck with me for all the time.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Very, very powerful stuff you've been able to write and document and chronicle over the years. So let's go through the high school football championships, shall we? My friend, we've got Class 6, Oscar Smith taking on North Stafford. Oscar Smith trying to go for a second title in a row in Class 6 after ousting James Madison in a close one. That was one of the 7 games we had decided by 6 points or less in the semifinal round. In Class 5, you have the Maury Commodores trying to get a three-peat against Highland Springs. Lauren Johnson, former Hokie of Virginia Tech, he's got his fair share of rings on his fingers too, as the Springers are back in the title game. They've beaten Maury the last 3 times in the postseason they've met, but they've lost the last 2 regular season encounters to the Commodores. Class 4's got Verona, the runner-up last year to Phoebus, taking on Loudoun County, who's played, you correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure anybody's played more games decided by 2 points or less than these guys, as they've won 3 of the 4 games decided by 1 point, and they squeak it out against Lafayette in the state semifinal round. A newbie on the scene, if you will, to championship Saturday. Lake Taylor under Hank Sawyer going for their 4th championship under him. They finished runner-up 3 times under him against Kettle Run, who last year lost to Liberty Christian in the title game. They rallied from a massive deficit, 19 points down in the semis, and here they are with a new coach, Delmar Christian, who was interim coach in the offseason. And Lake Taylor, who was 3-7 last year, takes them on a very intriguing Class 3 final. Class 2, I know this one is pretty close to you too in your neck of the woods. Glenvar, the only unbeaten left here with the record setter and Brody Doyot, the Charlotte signee, 14-0, taking on Strasburg, the runner-up last year, who beat Pocosa for the 2nd straight year in the semis, trying to get the title this time. And then you have in Class 1 the championship game of 3 seeds, Rappahannock and Ryco. We could take this a lot of different directions for you, but I guess of those 6 championship games, is there a juiciest storyline that jumps out at you the most?
Maybe just in general, I think I brought this up to you a month or so ago. It's the number of these top teams in Virginia that had gone out of state and faced the best teams they could find, and in fact have lost to a lot of these teams. Oscar Smith, Verona, Maury. I think even Loudoun County lost to a West Virginia team. I mean, a lot of these teams have gone out and found teams to play, and I think it probably helped them. If you look at it wasn't an out-of-state team, but you look at Rye Cove, a lot of people wonder why are they scheduling Lord Botetourt in the opener, and look, here we are, and that it's had to help them, face that kind of competition. I think so. In general, that would be my one theme. I think looking at all these games.
No doubt. I think it's a great point. And Glenvar being the last undefeated team is certainly a storyline. To follow up on that, I mean, there's been so many, we know about some of the off the field stories too, involving Union, who got bounced in the state semis, and Brookville and so on and so forth. But it's so hard. We've talked about it, to go wire to wire now with those schedules that these teams play out of state competition. And we see it in college and pro football, to go 15-0. You remember the days when it wasn't 15 games. It was, 13, 14 games, and it was AAA, AA, single A. What would it signify for Coach Clifford and Glenvar if they finish this deal to go unbeaten as the only one? And also, what would it mean if they don't, and we go an entire high school football season with all your years and your perspective on this, if we have 6 champions crowned and they all have at least one blemish?
That would be unusual. I'll let you do the legwork on that one. Scour the record books, but
right.
No undefeated. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, you got injuries. The Glenvar quarterback Brody Doyot was hurt at Floyd County game. We didn't know, if he had a broken collarbone or a separated shoulder, or was he going to play anymore? Or, you got injuries. You got all kinds of situations that rise in the season. You got good opponents. You got weather. You got everything. And like I said, it's a lot easier to go 0-10 than 10-0.
No, that's a very good, true point by you there. You look at the football across the state. I think there's so many good pockets of it, whether you're in the Roanoke area, Northern Virginia, Fredericksburg, Tidewater, Richmond. Certainly Tidewater's got a chance to get 3 championships. The 804 technically can get 3 if Highland Springs, Verona, and Rappahannock, which is an 804 team, gets it done in Class 1. I think one of the bigger surprises to me, you tell me how you feel as far as how the postseason's gone, is that we don't have Essex or Riverheads here. They both got bounced in the semifinal round in the region final round. They didn't make it to the state semifinal round. And Rappahannock, which had lost to Essex the last 2 times they played, getting this far is something that really caught my eye, because we really kind of expect every year you can almost pencil in these Class 1 teams like Essex and Riverheads, and it didn't happen that way with a couple of 3 seeds.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about Rappahannock. I know the running back's outstanding, and obviously it's Riverheads. I think it's, losing the coach like Casto has to have an impact. I'm nothing disrespect to the successor, obviously, but then they went back up to 2A and they lost some games, and that kind of momentum gets stalled. Maybe you get a little too used to winning, and all of a sudden you're not anymore, and things start peeling off. Maybe that's part of it, but obviously Rappahannock's got a good football team. I know Region 1A has, historically been Essex, but there's about time somebody else jumped up there.
Mm-hmm. How about the Class 3 storylines we got here with Delmar Christian, interim coach, that whole situation? The Liberty Christian game, I don't know about you last week. I was broadcasting the Magna Vista Lake Taylor game with Rod Johnson on the FHS network. We all thought that game was over, that LCA is going back for a 3-peat, and you've seen Gideon Davidson up close and personal, who's now at Clemson and doing quite well there in the ACC. I felt like all year long it was Heritage or LCA whoever came out of that game. I'm also pretty surprised that we have the A and B teams here in the final, not the C and D, but I'm sure you'll tell me too. Hold on, Matt. Those teams like Lake Taylor and Cardinal, they have pretty good athletes as well.
Yeah, like I told you the other day, that Lake Taylor team that beat Tuscarora a couple of years ago had the best defense I think I've seen in high school. I mean, all those kids were 6'2", 200 pounds that could run, and I think Tuscarora had a hard time running a play in that game. So I don't know Lake Taylor's personnel. Magna Vista's obviously been there before. They've been successful. They gave up 50 points in that loss in overtime to GW Danville. So that made me wonder a little bit about what was going to happen against Lake Taylor. But I don't really know the Kettle Run coaching situation to speak on that. But I do know Liberty Christian. You lose 2 guys that go to Clemson at that level, and they've got a lot of juniors on their roster as well. But that must have been a heck of a comeback by Kettle Run.
Sure. In our last couple minutes here with you, we thank you for coming on the program. I'm not going to hold your feet to the fire with predictions. I do that up there on VirginiaPreps.com, but we thank you immensely for your contributions and helping us put some of these in-depth previews out for the audience and the readers and the fans to check out. But of the 6 championship games, you got a gut feel or a thought on which might be either the most entertaining, most likely to go to overtime of the 6? What's kind of your one that we're talking about the most Monday? What's our takeaway Monday morning reaction? Because you're pretty good at maybe forecasting what we'll be chatting about following these finals.
I think the lower classification games are going to be your closer games. I got a feeling, that Verona is just really. I mean, from everything I hear, they're loaded. That's going to be a tough task there in 4A. I think the Glenver game will be fairly low scoring, even though you've got the record-setting quarterback there, and then. The single A game, I don't know it'll necessarily be low scoring. I don't know if Roanoke can score enough to match Rappahannock or not, but I think one of those teams is going to be a state champion, and that's I don't think anybody had that down at the start of the season.
No, I don't think so either. That was and you're right. You're spot on with that Rappahannock Roanoke. I think if the score, it's one of those games where there's a magic number for a team. If it gets to like 28, you feel like that's too much for Roanoke. They want to keep it below a certain threshold. They can come out on top against Rappahannock. But it should be a lot of fun with Rappahannock, Rye Cove, Glenver, Strasburg, Kettle Run, Liberty Christian. Kettle Run, Lake Taylor. After Kettle Run beat Liberty Christian, you have Verona, Loudoun County in Class 4, Maury taking on Highland Springs, familiar nemesis, if you will, and then Oscar Smith, North Stafford in Class 6. Before we let you run here, you are a Martinsville High grad, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Big year for the Bulldogs, it looks like, with Gary Hall and company. And I know you're always loving the basketball scene. Love to get you back on when I have my partner, Coach Ed Young, with me. We can talk some hoops with you. You've covered so many great ones over the years. The likes of J.J. Reddick come to mind, and so many all across the state, whether they're from Roanoke or not. But should be a neat hoop season this year as well.
Yeah, I think so. The weather's kind of interrupted it a little bit. Martinsville opened their season last Tuesday, and here we are 8 days later, and they haven't played again. I know they've had a couple games already postponed, and Coach Hall's doing some good things there, trying to emphasize the tradition that's in play at the school, and he's got a good team. He's got 3 or 4 really good players, and God knows what he's doing. But you talk about players I've seen over time. I'm still a Moses Malone guy. He was in my graduating class in 1974. God rest his soul. But I'll take Moses still to this day.
You're not going to get an argument from me, but we're going to – next time we get you on, I'll let you diligently prepare for this, because Coach Young, my basketball partner, now coaching at Smithfield after his many, many years at Nansman River, also has coached at Suffolk High, won a championship there, Green Run in Norview, a couple stops in between college ball too. He'll want me to do this for you, but to get your Robert Anderson's all Virginia, like top 5, first team, second team, third team. But I know Moses is taking the center spot, but then you're still leaving Alonzo, either if you put him at power forward or on the bench. You got guys like Bryant Stith and J.J. Reddick and Allen Iverson. And Ronald Curry might get the names you can come up with up and down the board are you're going to be leaving off some great players if you do a first, second, and third team. You know that,
you
right?
put Grant Hill in there for sure.
Grant Hill, yeah, who just got in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, by the way. He's got to be a first-team guy, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, from South Lake. So we'll pin you down for that, because that will get a lot of conjecture, and we can have fun with it for sure. But he is the Virginia High School League Hall of Famer. He's got pride from both Martinsville and Emory and Henry, and he's done some terrific work over the years, Bristol Herald-Courier, Roanoke Times, and now with us at VirginiaPreps.com and the Cardinal News. Check out his great work, Robert Anderson. Thank you so much, my friend. You be well, and you can show the audience. You got the Duke sweatshirt today, right?
I do. I have the Dukies on.
Okay.
That's. Let me just say that no other ACC school has ever held the women's basketball championship, the men's championship, and the football title at the same time. It's the first time it's ever happened.
That's a great nugget. You were texting me the other day, so you did catch up with our buddy David Teal, another Hall of Famer in his own right. That's never happened. How about that?
I'm a North Carolina native, and like I said, I had surgery as a young infant at Duke, and I'm connected to it, and that's where that's coming from.
Pretty cool stuff. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the championship Saturday. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Matt.
It's Robert Anderson, our guest here on 757 Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. Make sure you hit the like button, the share button, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Check out On the Hash with Hatfield, 757 Sports Talk, all of our live broadcasts and our podcast, plus the links to things like we do at VirginiaPreps.com as well. We'll take a timeout. We've got more coming your way. It is 757 Sports Talk, and you're watching with us on CoVA Sports TV. Stay tuned.